On 1st May 2026, the United Arab Emirates officially left OPEC after nearly 60 years. One of the world's largest oil producers had just walked away from the organization that once controlled global energy. And the real reason could reshape the future of oil itself. Because this was never supposed to happen. OPEC's power depended on unity, on countries acting together to influence the global oil prices. But behind the scenes, cracks inside the alliance had been growing for years. There were quiet disagreements, power struggles, and competing visions for the future. And now, one of its richest and most ambitious members has decided it no longer wants to play by OPEC's rules. To understand why the UAE walked away, we need to first understand how oil reshaped the modern world. In the early 20th century, oil became one of the most valuable resources on earth. Cars, factories, militaries, electric grids, shipping networks, nearly everything in the modern economy depended on petroleum. But for decades, much of the global oil industry was controlled by powerful Western companies. Many oil producing nations believed that they had little control over their own resources. So in September 1960, five countries met in Baghdad, Iraq, to create a new organization. They were Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. Together, they formed OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Its mission was simple: control production, influence prices, and increase the power of oil-producing nations. Then came 1973. During the Arab-Israeli War, several Arab oil producers restricted exports to countries supporting Israel. Global oil supplies tightened dramatically, prices surged, inflation exploded across Western economies. In the United States, massive lines formed at gas stations. Some stations ran out of fuel completely, and suddenly the world realized something terrifying. Modern economies could be shaken by oil supply shocks thousands of miles away. Oil was no longer just energy, it was geopolitical power. Few regions benefited from the oil age more dramatically than the Gulf states. Before oil, much of the Arabian Gulf depended on fishing, trade, and pearl diving. But after major oil discoveries in the mid-20th century, enormous wealth began flowing into the Gulf. In 1971, the United Arab Emirates officially formed, and over the following decades, the transformation was extraordinary. There were towers that rose from deserts. Dubai became one of the world's largest aviation hubs. Abu Dhabi accumulated sovereign wealth worth hundreds and billions of dollars. Oil revenue helped build one of the most major modern economies in the Middle East. But beneath the success, UAE leaders understood something important. Oil alone could not guarantee future power forever. OPEC's strength always depended on coordination. If member nations produced too much oil, prices could collapse across the global economy. So OPEC used production quotas, limits on how much oil each country could produce. But over time, tensions inside the alliance slowly began growing, especially between UAE and Saudi Arabia. During the 2010s and early 2020s, the UAE invested billions of dollars expanding its oil production capacity. By 2025, the UAE could produce far more oil than its OPEC quotas allowed it. And from the UAE's perspective, that created a serious problem. Why spend billions of dollars increasing production if another organization decides how much you are allowed to sell? Tensions became highly visible in 2021 when disagreements between UAE and Saudi Arabia reportedly delayed major OPEC negotiations. But another threat to OPEC had already emerged outside the Middle East: American shale oil. New drilling technologies allowed the United States to massively increase production during the 2010s. Suddenly, OPEC no longer controlled the global energy markets as completely as it once had. Then came May 1st, 2026. The United Arab Emirates officially withdrew from OPEC, ending nearly 59 years of membership. The decision shook global energy markets because the UAE was not a minor member. It was OPEC's third largest producer. And its exit signaled something much bigger than a disagreement over oil quotas. Leaving OPEC gave the UAE something it wanted for years: freedom. The freedom to increase oil production without following restrictions. The freedom to pursue its own long term economic strategy. Because while OPEC was built for an oil age, the UAE was preparing for something beyond it. Today, the UAE is transforming itself into something far larger than an oil exporter. Dubai has positioned itself as a global center for finance, logistics, aviation, tourism, and technology. The country is investing heavily in artificial intelligence, renewable ports, data infrastructure, and global trade networks. Geography still gives UAE enormous strategic importance. It sits near some of the world's most important shipping routes connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. But now, the country wants influence that extends beyond energy market. The UAE is not abandoning oil, it is using oil's wealth to prepare for a world where oil may no longer dominate forever. OPEC once terrified the global economy. Governments feared its decisions, markets reacted to every meeting. But history changes when technology changes. Electric vehicles, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, new trade networks. Countries are preparing for a different future, and the UAE may have concluded that its ambition no longer fits with OPEC's old system. The organization will not disappear overnight, but the UAE's departure may one day be remembered as the moment the cracks became impossible to ignore. This has been an historical footprint.